So I was having a conversation this morning on my Japanese YouTube channel, and I had a rather interesting discussion about the music of Richard Wagner, and really knowledgeable participants said that some people claim that Wagner is a religion, kind of a religion, and its music is too intoxicating and therefore dangerous. And I have heard this kind of reference to Wagner's music many times, and I think it's basically rubbish. Because when you think about it, this is a note that I took of during this conversation on my Japanese YouTube channel, and it says Wagnerを作る to make Wagner, and if you are composer like Richard Wagner was, it's quite difficult to make music that would move people to the degree of, for example, Tristan und Isolde or Tannhäuser or Lohengrin. Unless you are a calculating, cunning intellect who knows the in and out of music and who would work diligently from morning to night and come up with this really sophisticated score that is Wagner's music. Unless you do that, you cannot really move people like that. So this fake news or this character assassination, if you like, of Wagner's music by some non-thinking people. Excuse my language, but I should say that by some non-thinking music that Wagner's music is intoxicating and it's similar to religion, come from a standpoint of just receiving Wagner's music. I mean, of course, if you receive Wagner's music, then probably you might be moved and you might have religious experiences, but that is completely different from the standpoint view of the composer. If you are somebody who is easily intoxicated and who is easily moved, try to make music like Wagner's. You can't make it. In my opinion, there are only two kinds of operas: those made by Richard Wagner and those which was not made by Richard Wagner. I mean, there's such a great distinction. If Richard Wagner was not here, I think the genre of opera would have been much poorer than it is today. Look at the script, look at the dramaturgy. Look at the music. Most of the operas by other composers are failing. I mean, they do not convey a really in-depth, profound information and message about human condition. Only Wagner's music has reached a certain level of understanding about the human nature. I mean, opera is unfortunately a really time-consuming and expensive genre of art, and so not many composers have succeeded in creating a genre of opera. And even if some works have entered the repertoire of opera houses around the world, Puccini, Verdi, Mozart, the usual suspects. Probably with the exception of Mozart, most of these works lack the depth and profound human understanding of Richard Wagner operas. So I would say that if it were not for Wagner, probably the genre of opera would have been much poorer than it is now. So I think it is quite fair to say that Richard Wagner was a genius, and he made works which with a really profound understanding of the human psychology and what humans are. And it's quite simply put, Wagner's works are really well done. And in order to make really great music like that, you really need to have a balanced intellect. You shouldn't be moved so easily. You shouldn't be believing in blind religious faith. You should be rather calculating. You should be rather cunning. You should have a proper and sober mind. Unless you do have these mindsets, you cannot create the music of Richard Wagner. So all these nonsense that have been said about Wagner's music, that is too long, it's so emotional, it's like the religious cult and so on. These were put forward by the people, unthinking people who just receives music. From the point of making music, you have completely different vista, and it can be applied to singers and the players in the orchestra too. If you are playing some instrument in Wagner opera, or if you are the singer of a Wagner opera, you should be calculating, because if you are a singer, you should tune your you should have this idea of conserving energy, because if you are, for example, singing Isolde in Tristan und Isolde, you should keep your energy up until the last moment, in the Liebestod, because otherwise, if you use your voice too much in the first act or second act, you wouldn't be able to sing. So all these things, I mean, it's all these very objective logical calculations that make a great Wagner music. So all this nonsense about Wagner have been put forward by these people who just receive that. From the point of view of making art, Wagner is and would be recognized as, in the foreseeable future, as a great genius of art, and I have no doubt about it. And I have come to this realization only recently, because I have been listening to Wagner ever since I was a teenager, and I have been accustomed to these rather nonsensical comments about Wagner's music by all these people, critics, and it's everywhere, not only in Japan but everywhere in the world, I suspect. And and I think it is time to put these nonsensical ideas in their appropriate place, which is the garbage bin. So that's my idea. And I really enjoyed Stephen Fry's wonderful program about Wagner's music. And, I think that was a really fair treatment of Wagner's music by one of the greatest comedians in the world today. So that's all for me from today. Yeah.